Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere.
How ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Megyn Kelly arrived with popcorn and a flamethrower after The View was hit with a $800 million reality check. Karoline Leavitt's victory extended beyond the courtroom. She made the set her own lap of triumph. At a parade, Megyn is now throwing. Out burns like candy. Joy appears to be lost. Whoopi is about to blow up. Additionally, Megyn is treating this court victory as if it were her most recent stand-up act. How, therefore, did this midday catastrophe get so spectacularly out? Of hand? Hold on tight. A champagne upgrade was been given to this train disaster.
See, having just paid $15 million for a defamation lawsuit, would think not to engage in conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that.
The sardonic royalty of daytime TV finally drank something hotter than their lukewarm lattes. A $800 million legal body slam that shook the ABC Lots Cosmetics mirrors. That Karoline Leavitt, indeed, slammed the position squarely into the footnotes. Megyn Kelly also did more than just grab some popcorn. Her napalm was straight as she rolled up.
Like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
You may be drinking coffee and sulking in front of millions of people 1 minute, and then you're losing money like a cryptocurrency bro during a market meltdown the next. The View had a reputation for having witty ideas, which for years implied that whomever they felt like dragging that week was free to do as they pleased. Unexpectedly though, such adorable jokes can result in a skyscraper-sized legal bill if you carelessly launch a media firing squad without first having a lawyer clean your zingers.
Ania Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
Would you look? This is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying fact.
Furthermore, we're not referring to a minor oopsie or a quick slap on the wrist. No, the repercussions are worth $800 million. The kind that causes sponsors to disappear like Houdini and CEOs to cry in the parking lot. It's the kind of gut punch that makes TV executives think carefully about whether a quiet yoga rebrand may save the remaining studio lights.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
This wasn't just a court defeat. It was a full-blown reckoning. Karoline Leavitt didn't simply win. She walked out in courtroom stilettos after detonating a media landmine. And Megyn Kelly? One look at the smoldering crater inspired what felt like a TED Talk on how not to run a talk show when accountability finally shows up. Because when you trade journalistic integrity for viral catfights, the tab eventually comes due. This one brought both legal firepower and public humiliation. What started as a spicy Tuesday on The View became a legal juggernaut that shattered legacy media's marble columns like a wrecking ball through a house of cards. At first, it was business as usual. Loud takes, curated outrage, a sprinkle of misinformation, and zero consequences. But this time, producers didn't just mock. They danced into a legal ambush in designer shoes. Karoline didn't sue for attention. She came armed with receipts, a courtroom assassin squad, and a grudge aged like fine wine. This wasn't a clapback. It was a legal symphony. A stark reminder that defamation laws exist for a reason, and a power move so strong it ensures future hit jobs get vetted by 6 lawyers before reaching the teleprompter.
Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The
January
View
6th was an
today.
atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the
What an implosion it was. $800 million isn't just a number. It's a midday extinction event that wiped out finger-wagging piety, cherry-picked facts, and latte-fueled snark in one clean sweep. Somewhere in a Manhattan high-rise, a network exec probably sobbed into a decorative pillow until it burst into regret and polyester fluff. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt, calm, composed, possibly sipping something sparkling, may or may not have started yacht shopping. Objection overruled sounds fitting for a warship. She didn't just win, she broke ground on a moral high ground resort and started charging admission. Enter Megyn Kelly. Not casually. She showed up like an IRS audit, clipboard ready, heels sharp. The flamethrower clicked on. Her response wasn't commentary. It was a cold, calculated strike. She didn't just roast The View. She filleted it with surgical precision and the glee of someone who's been watching the slow motion wreck since 2006. Popcorn in one hand, receipts in the other.
Get this little lecture from, forgive me, those is over at The View.
I'm a Christian girl. When something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something like God was watching me, that is a very unchristian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. What? Well, God was watching me and not watching them. There's something very disturbing.
God should have pulled the plug on that mic yesterday.
That's obnoxious. I don't know what church she goes to. That is how people of faith talk, and the intimation is never, he was looking out for me, but not those monsters.
If sarcasm were an Olympic sport, Megyn Kelly just won gold, landed 3 endorsement deals, and claimed global rights to the decade's most smug smirk. No yelling, no dramatic mic drops. Just the cold precision of a media pro unfolding a case file titled, "Why You Don't Play Supreme Court," in a studio full of throw pillows. Her tone was surgical, her logic lethal, and that smirk, the kind that shows up right before the twist in a true crime doc. She didn't need to raise her voice. The facts were already screaming in HD. Her case was so cold, it could freeze a lawsuit into submission. That smile didn't say, "I told you so." It whispered it, with the weight of a gavel. If courtroom verdicts had a spirit animal that week, it was Megyn. Poised, relentless, and in legally reinforced stilettos. The View didn't just lose a case, they lost their sense of invincibility, and Megyn left it dangling. But how did we even get here? How did a barely 20-something political upstart bring down a daytime TV giant with surgical legal precision? Simple. While The View played talk show dodgeball, Karoline Leavitt played chess. Turns out their favorite game, Dogpiling political targets has rules, and breaking them? That comes with subpoenas, receipts, and a very expensive price tag.
Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended, because you know who showed up.
Leavitt's legal team didn't just file a case and hope for the best. They came armed with defamation laws, libel statutes, and enough receipts to justify a Netflix documentary. Discovery was their playground. Segment scripts were pulled from emails. Internal memos flat out admitted the story was fabricated to boost ratings. Jackpot. Here's where it got serious. Courts don't shrug off baseless claims to millions as just entertainment. They start doing the math. Reputation damage, check. Career sabotage, double check. Malice topped with reckless disregard? Absolutely. What viewers saw as another hot take turned into one of the most brutal and expensive courtroom battles in TV history. This wasn't about forcing an apology. Leavitt's team calculated damages with the cold precision of a hedge fund shark. And through it all, Karoline's calm poker face never cracked, even as the evidence landed in court like a meteor. The icing on the cake? The View had gotten too comfortable, as if only guests, not hosts, were accountable.
Hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note. Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a
Seated comfortably at a table propped up by decades of unchecked authority and automatic acclaim, they never saw Karoline Leavitt as a real threat. That was a colossal mistake. She turned their arrogant dismissal into an $800 million crash course titled, Why You Don't Mock Someone with a Legal Dream Team. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly observed the entire spectacle like a front row guest at Wimbledon. Except, every serve was a subpoena, and every backhand came stamped with a court seal. Megyn didn't just celebrate the verdict. With a sardonic smirk and a stare that screamed, I warned you, she delivered a masterclass in media accountability. She didn't have to feign outrage, just dropped the mic, let the facts roll in, and helped rewrite the media hierarchy. What was once an untouchable empire became sloppy, got exposed, and collapsed. Megyn didn't frame it as a battle between wounded warriors. She made it a warning display, a reminder that snark is just a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Her takedown was surgical, quiet, precise, and painful, because every word hit the mark. The fallout was immediate. No one needed to say anything. The high say. Fear was obvious. Hot takes suddenly froze. Headlines tiptoed. And somewhere, producers started pulling in extra chairs for the lawyers at content meetings.
Nothing more than tearing down women with the most petty and vacuous of insults. Leavitt appears to be a fierce operator, but she's also 27 and arguably quite glamorous. So of course, the kind and progressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that.
Adjectives caused a hive to break out in every newsroom overnight. Journalism still existed. It just hid behind a thesaurus and damage control. Somewhere, a network VP was likely stifling a scream into a gluten-free muffin while reading Karoline Leavitt's lawsuit in a dim corner office. Because here's the kicker, this wasn't about politics. It was about carelessness. Flippant remarks disguised as opinions, journalistic malpractice cloaked in clever zingers. Megyn Kelly didn't just notice, she highlighted the mess in neon. She didn't cheer for ideological collapse. She celebrated a long overdue reckoning. And she knew exactly how to hit a media giant with an $800 million invoice. Suddenly, fact-checking became law. Advertisers ghosted faster than bad Tinder dates. Syndication deals collapsed. The offending segment vanished like it never aired, but the financial crater remained. The View tried its usual playbook: smile, sip, shrug. But this time, everyone noticed. Sponsors, viewers, even interns who suddenly needed legal clearance to sneeze. Daytime TV had become legal roulette, and the house always wins. Karoline Leavitt didn't just win a case. She flipped the arena. Once a political upstart, now a gladiator who turned slander into spotlight, humiliation into headlines, and bias into a billion-dollar warning. Megyn Kelly wasn't just an ally. She was a glam squad-wearing media bounty hunter with a grudge. Her takedown wasn't a segment. It was a battle cry. She reminded the industry that microphones don't shield lies, and recklessness comes with a cost. Even SAS got subpoenaed. HR manuals were rewritten. Producers became slander law experts. Hosts began saying "reportedly" like it was holy water. The View went from a forum of opinions to a cautionary corporate training video. Karoline didn't just sue for money. She filed a cultural reset. And like a storm warning in Couture, Megyn rode shotgun. Together, they didn't just disrupt a talk show. They carved a message into network media's core: pay up or speak wisely. By the end, the silence from talk show hosts said it all. The most expensive comment in daytime TV history wasn't a rant. It was a lazy aside in a forgettable segment. So next time a host slanders a young politician with the grace of a drunk uncle on Thanksgiving, remember, Karoline didn't yell. She sued, she won, and she left with $800 million and a mic drop that shook the entire industry. Megyn Kelly didn't just critique the stage, she set the gold standard for legal sass. Because the deepest burns don't come from shouting. They arrive with heels, facts, and a devastatingly timed "I told you"